Hey guys, check it out. You're watching Jonathan Clarke on YouTube. Oh no! I love talking about Descendants and Zombies. If there was one thing I could do over again in this lifetime, it would be go back in time and meet each and every one of you all over again to experience this global phenomenon that has taken the world by storm. For those of you who are new here, I'm your host, Jonathan Clarke, and it is an honor to meet you. I am the biggest fan of Descendants and Zombies, and I think you are really going to love it on this YouTube channel if you have not subscribed. Perhaps I can intrigue you to subscribe to this YouTube channel by telling you a story about how I became a Disney fan. For me, it all started with Mickey Mouse and how Mickey Mouse's characters represented his personality. And I've loved Mickey Mouse ever since I was probably 5 years old. And I've had all this Mickey Mouse merchandise behind me because he really inspires me to be kinder to people. He really inspires me to become a better person, even though it seems virtually impossible on times for me to be a better person than what I already am, because with me, what you see is what you get. I try to spread a message of kindness every day of my life. And I think that the most perfect and most profound way of doing that is by talking about Descendants and Zombies, a franchise that has always and forever meant so much to our hearts. Ever since I was 5 years old, my mom had Mickey Mouse boxers for me when I was sick in hospital. She had Mickey Mouse pajamas. My grandmother was the same way with me. So I ended up with all this Mickey Mouse stuff, and I've had it for forever and always to remind me of just how important being kind to somebody actually is. And I think that Descendants and Zombies has distilled in their minds that kindness really never is seen enough in this lifetime, and there are never enough kind people. But the thing is about Descendants and Zombies is it has inspired so many wonderful people to be kinder to each other and to become the best of friends. And that's what I've always loved and forever cherished about Descendants and Zombies, is how we see some of the most beautiful friendships really stand the test of time and become legendary for how people have always stood behind each other with support emotionally and physically. It is amazing what Descendants and Zombies has promoted. Through the powerful music, through the powerful script, it's truly enthralling to me what Descendants and Zombies has made happen. It's really an opportunity to create magic, and everybody's taken full advantage of it. Through the Descendants merch, through watching the movies at watch parties with your friends, probably you do it on social media all the time, attending the Worlds Collide tour, which a lot of people came away from very emotional because they never wanted that time to end. And I really respect that about you guys, how you wanted this to last forever. This is really a moment in time, and I've often said that time is the most precious commodity. And why is time the most precious commodity? Well, simply put, time always runs out, and it's all about what we do with the time that we're allocated. We can spend time with the ones we love. We can tell them we love them more. We can go back in time to fix the mistakes we make. I think that time is something very important that oftentimes is taken for granted. But now, I think time is more cherished than it ever has before because of what Descendants and Zombies has reminded us of constantly. And they've reminded us constantly of this over the last decade. And I think people are stronger now. People realize the value behind a friendship, because if you have one really good friend in this lifetime, the one really good friend that you have will remain with you and remain loyal to you for forever and always, with emotional support and understanding of what you may be going through when others can't. Because I really believe this is true about Descendants and Zombies, because I went through high school with probably 3 or 4 really good friends. I had one good friend who played video games with me every Friday evening. I had another friend who wanted to be an indie rocker, and I spent every night in his shed while he played the guitar to learn songs of Nickelback and Ozzy Osbourne. While he may have never went on to become the greatest of all time as an indie rocker, he had the opportunity to live out his dream of learning some of the most, memorable songs, I guess, of his lifetime by learning the chords and stuff on guitar. But the thing is, friends are brought together by some of the most unbelievable of circumstances. And I think that Descendants and Zombies has created some of the most beautiful friendships of all time, and friendships that I will never, ever forget. Because people will always ask me in interviews that I do online all the time, what is the greatest honor for me for talking about all these niches and talking about Descendants and Zombies. And I will always say in the interview that the greatest honor of my life is connecting with each and every one of you and having the honor to be in your guys' presence to talk about Descendants and Zombies. Did I think this YouTube channel would have over 3,000 subscribers? No, I did not. Did I think this YouTube channel would amount to 60,000 plus channel views? Most certainly never. I was just a guy who just hosted videos out of his bedroom, would upload them to YouTube, and they exploded overnight. Regardless if it was remembering me for my opinions on Dove Cameron and her relationship with Ryan McCartan, how Kylie Cantrell may have been treated on and off of camera for Descendants and by the Disney company, I let my opinion be known about it because I know that a lot of people were really big fans of Descendants and Zombies. And as a fan of Disney, you feel a part of everything. So when Disney came out with Descendants and Zombies, I thought this was amazing. I thought it was the best script that I had ever read in my life. I thought it was the most amazing music that had ever been brought to a script to bring something to life. And I think that the stars of Descendants and Zombies has shown a lot of dedication and perseverance, more notably too. Perseverance because of all the criticism they have received. I don't think that Kylie Contrail should have to close her eyes every night and watch videos of her on YouTube with people criticizing her all the time. I think it is completely unnecessary. And I showed up on YouTube a year and a half ago with dedication to these videos for each and every one of you, having promised you that I would upload Descendants and Zombies videos because I believe you guys deserve better. Because all you were seeing on YouTube was criticism directed towards your favorite stars, regardless if it was Kylie, regardless if it was Freya. And I saw an issue with that because the thing was, at 15 years old, what do you know? Do you know where you're going? Do you know what you want to amount to out of your whole life experience, out of your whole lifetime? Do you really know what direction you're headed in? No, you don't. The thing is, between 15 and 20 years old, you don't know if you're coming or going. And the thing is, these stars became famous overnight because of their talent, and Disney took full advantage of them for that. And I think the critics have realized that too and have become consumed with jealousy about the success of your favorite Descendants of Zombie stars. So as a result of this, on platforms such as YouTube, you're watching videos about Descendants of Zombies that really don't make a whole lot of sense. So if you're going to, my issue with this is if you talk about Descendants of Zombies, you have to talk about it in a way that it really touches somebody's heart. Really, when you talk about anything, you have to do it in a way that it touches somebody's heart, because I think that there's a point in time when your journalistic ability sometimes gets the better of you, and you think that you have to do videos so professionally that nothing really makes sense by the time the final product comes out. So I think that what you have to do is you kind of got to break character, and you've got to tell the fans of Descendants of Zombies why you love it so much. I love Descendants of Zombies simply because of the passion behind it, because of the story about how a girl came from the Isle of the Lost searching for her place in the world. She didn't know how or what was going to happen to her or how she was going to find it. All she knew was that she was just trying to find a place in the world because she felt lost. And by meeting the Prince of the Auradon, of course, meeting the Son of the Beast, then at the time, she was able to do that. And I think that everybody saw themselves through the eyes at one point or another, through the eyes of Mel, because they felt like her. They felt like there were times in their life they hadn't been accepted. They felt like there were a lot of times, more than they probably have ever admitted, that they were let down. And that really inspired them to become better people, to make more of their own life and the time they've been allocated, which was really cool, along with all of these definitive songs in 2015's Descendants soundtrack, like If Only, and Rotten to the Core, which also introduces other characters like Jay and Evie and Carlos, who will forever and always hold a special place in our heart. I think more noticeably about the original Descendants franchise, for me, it were the memories that the original franchise created for me as a fan of Disney, because I had never seen a franchise create so many wonderful memories for me. You know, I could sit here all day and talk about how I was the biggest fan of Hannah Montana, because I really was. I had Hannah Montana posters on my wall. I knew every lyric of every Hannah Montana song. I was so supportive of every venue and every event that Miley Cyrus had something to do with, both as Hannah Montana and as herself, because being introduced to Miley Cyrus in 2008 was the greatest honor of my life. Miley Cyrus was just 2 years into her career. I was looking for something to feel inspired because of, and Hannah Montana offered me that guiding light. And that guiding light eventually led me to each and every one of you. While I may have been the biggest Hannah Montana fan in the world, one thing I noticed about Hannah Montana was you take the music away from the script and you don't really have that much of a story to fall back on. The thing about Descendants stood out in a category of its own because if you take the music out of Descendants, you still have a powerful story that can be represented even and told even without music. I know that musicals pride themselves on obviously the soundtrack, and when the emotions are too high, they resort to music to tell the story, because sometimes the emotions are at an all-time high that it becomes very overpowering. We've seen this with Ariana Grande. We've seen this with Miley Cyrus before in the Hannah Montana movie back in 2009. But I remember years ago standing up in the back of a local theater watching The Lion King premiere in June of 1994. The place was sold out. There wasn't a seat there. No seats were vacant, so I stood up in the back of the cinema and I watched the movie. And I remember Mufasa telling Simba about how when we die, we leave a legacy behind and our bodies eventually become part of the ground after our legacies have been fulfilled. And I thought about how Descendants and Zombies really was the representation of that, because everybody in this lifetime has a legacy, regardless if you believe it or you don't. The thing is, eventually, you get to that point where you realize that your legacy has been fulfilled, and you think to yourself, my God, did this really happen for me? And I think that Descendants and Zombies has offered us that encouragement to go on with our own lives regardless of the circumstances and or situations we're faced with, to get that much closer to a dream. Because regardless if you admit to it or not, a dream is that much closer to you than you've ever realized. You take Freya Sky, for example. All she ever wanted to do was sing and dance. And this poor girl has been on a tour for the last 2 months, sleeping on tour buses, probably not even remembering where she is from one location to the next. Every single night she shuts her eyes and she wonders to herself, did I really inspire enough people tonight? Did I really do my best? I've heard Meg Donnelly say this enough on podcast interviews. I've heard Meg Donnelly say this on TikTok live streams. They're in doubt of themselves. And I think that it is absolutely ridiculous when you see stars that have come off as such huge inspirations, to myself included, saying that, I wonder did I do my absolute best tonight. The thing is, Disney puts them under so much pressure that they are doubting themselves, and that is totally unacceptable. When you have tens of millions of fans of Descendants and Zombies who have supported this to the ends of the earth and the ends of time, who love them regardless of what performance level they think they're at, or if they're living up to a certain standard of somebody who criticizes it. This is why I wish all the critics would go away and never be seen or never be heard from again. Because each and every one of us have felt inspired by Descendants and Zombies, while people like Kylie Cantrell and Meg Donnelly feel as if they've let us down. The thing is, regardless if Kylie Cantrell feels as if her relationship didn't live up to the standard that she wanted it to live up to, or she didn't live up to the criteria of whoever she was with, that doesn't take away from how beautiful of a person Kylie Cantrell actually is, how much of an inspiration she is to so many people from all walks of life. And I know this because of the diversity in culture, the diversity of how people feel about Descendants and Zombies whom have subscribed to this YouTube channel. I have the most wonderful people ever subscribed to this YouTube channel, who have heard my voice, who have heard my take and my opinions on Descendants and Zombies and have taken it for what it's worth. And while I've seen my fair share of criticism for my videos, I know I have at least 95% of the people who have subscribed to this YouTube channel in full support of how I feel about Descendants and Zombies, because of how the final scene of Zombies 4, Dawn of the Vampires, reminded me of my own life. You know, there were many times in my own life when all I ever wanted was to spend the rest of my life out with a girl that I thought so much over and I loved dearly. That's happened to me more times than I could ever choose to remember. And I remember that scene in New Zealand where Zed and Addison wanted nothing more than to spend the rest of their lives together, no matter what sacrifices they had to make. They cared about each other more than their own lives. And that really set this production on fire, because it was a moment that I think we were all waiting to happen for the Zombies franchise. We were also waiting on the words I love you to find their way into the script. Now, for those of you who don't know, that was originally supposed to happen for Nova and Victor, but because of their age, they removed it from the script. I think they could have gone ahead and had that in the script, because I think that there are a lot of people at 15 years old who are in love with each other. And I think it's very challenging for somebody who may have a crush on somebody to tell them that they love them at such a young age, because they don't know, what direction their life may be headed in. They can't make sense of their own situation or circumstances, so much so that they can't even tell the person that they love so much what they may be going through. So I think that if we would have seen this, if we would have heard the words I love you coming from Victor and Nova, and we would have seen them share a kiss, which was really sketched for the Zombies franchise to have happened, if we would have left this in the script, more people would have felt inspired to perhaps tell that one person they love so much and forever have held close that they do love them, and probably some relationships would work out for the better. I'm just saying this because if I were the writer and producer of Descendants and Zombies, I would have left everything that was in the script I originally planned to have happened, because of how much a profound impact it would have had on somebody else's life. Because of Victor and Nova, you may have had the courage to tell that one person that you've cared about more than your own life that you love them regardless of their age. Because I think that there is a point in time in somebody's life when they do discover how powerful love is, And I think that Descendants and Zombies has really pointed us in that promising direction of just how powerful love is, and showing us how powerful love is, as well as how powerful a friendship can be. Because also Zed and Addison, along with loving each other and falling in love with each other from the very first moment they laid eyes on each other, were the best of friends, both on the set of Zombies and off the set of Zombies behind the camera, which makes it an exciting time for Zombies fans worldwide, because Zombies 5 will have Mila Manheim and Meg Donnelly carrying the franchise's legacy long surpassed what everybody thought it was ever going to amount to, because it meant so much to them. And when you have a franchise that means so much to two people such as Zed and Addison's characters portrayed by Meg Donnelly and Mila Manheim, then the possibilities are really endless. Because when you're talking about stuff like supernatural, I mean, there are vampires, there are trolls, there are goblins, there are witches, there are sea creatures, such as mermaids, yet to see their introduction into this franchise, which I am incredibly excited about. You know, oftentimes I've wanted to go out on a boating excursion and meet a mermaid, because I think they are such innocent creatures. While they have been perceived to be devious, deceitful, what have you, I think that these characters offer a lot of unpredictability to a franchise. They did for the Pirates of the Caribbean. Look what Ariel became, being one of the most revered Disney princesses of all time. And that was actually one of the first storybooks I read when I was probably 6 years old. And I also read the novel based off The Little Mermaid, which inspired Disney to create an animated classic, which obviously had a lot of depressing moments and what have you. But I think that Disney's spin on these Disney Princess classics have really inspired a lot of people, because if not for his spin on these Disney Princess original classics, Descendants would have never happened. So because I love mermaids so much, I'm fully supportive of that. And I know I've received my fair share of criticism for my take on mermaids happening for zombies, but the thing is, it's unpredictable, because nobody ever thought that mermaids would see their introduction into the Zombies franchise, which makes this so much fun for people who do love mermaids, who have dreamed of growing a fin and splashing off into the sunset. I know I've dreamed of meeting a mermaid. I know it's never ever happened, but at least I live on an island where mermaid tales and tales about pirates have resonated for years. And I've honestly loved living here because of those tales, and I've loved studying them. I'm a guy who studied folk literature all of his lifetime, studied dirt journalism, and have an extensive background in it. So I guess I have a greater appreciation for these franchises and can break it down for you in a way that nobody else ever could. And I think that's what's made me so revered on YouTube, is how I can explain these franchises in a way that it eventually touches somebody's heart. Maybe not tonight, maybe not tomorrow, but you will eventually come back and you will feel inspired by these videos, because hope really does exist, ladies and gentlemen. That's the best way I can put it for you. Hope really does exist for no matter what age demographic these videos attract, because I don't try to attract a specific age demographic. I just fall into age demographics in specific niches. While I can sit here and say thank you to everybody, I would be here for forever. I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support that you have shown this YouTube channel, because without your love and support, this YouTube channel would have never amounted to what it did. It would have never gotten to the point that it did. It would never have seen so many subscribers. It would never have seen so much love and support, because without you guys, I would just be a loser playing video games. You want to know where I was today? I was at the game store buying a game for PlayStation 5, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. All because I was a huge Mighty Morphin Power Rangers fan back in August of 1993, when Day of the Dumpster first premiered, and I was a huge fan of Jason and Billy and Zach and Kimberly and Trini. I was a big fan of the Power Rangers. And now 25 years later, I'm sitting here talking about Descendants of Zombies, which I am also a really big fan of, because of just how far these franchises have come. Because each and every one of you believe in these franchises so much so that we've been talking about it and celebrating its lineage for over a decade. It's really hard to believe that a decade has passed and we're still talking about Descendants of Zombies, and we still feel so much inspired by characters of the past, characters we have yet to meet, characters who are currently carrying the torch into the future for Descendants of Zombies. Because like her or not, Kylie Contrell is doing a fabulous job. She really is. And I'm saying this not as a journalist. I'm saying this like each and every one of you say it, because you feel inspired by Kylie Contrell. She was the one star you wanted to be a part of somebody's life. It was Kylie Contrell. The reason why you were at the Worlds Collide Tour was because of Kylie Contrell. So if Kylie Contrell is doubting herself somewhere out there tonight about being an inspiration to millions of people, she most certainly is. And so too is Freya Sky. I am really impressed that in less than a year, Freya has accumulated over 500,000 subscribers on her YouTube channel. That is a dream of mine, to have 500,000 subscribers on my YouTube channel, which I'm a long way away from ever happening. But again, like I've tried to encourage each and every one of you about a dream happening for you, that dream of having 500,000 subscribers for me could be that much closer than I ever realized, because every single day that I wake up, I'm in store for a surprise, because I don't know what the day has in store for me from the time I wake up till the time the sun sets. But I do know that even though I doubt myself with the quality of my video and its presentation, I do know some way or somehow my videos reach out and touch the hearts of so many wonderful people. And it shows with how many people subscribe, how many people hit the like button. It is an experience that I will forever and always cherish. And I know, most certainly more than I ever had, that I will never ever forget the honor I had to talk about Descendants of Zombies for each and every one of you, because so many people can't. I'm sure they want to commentate on Descendants of Zombies, but they don't know how to commentate on Descendants of Zombies. And see, that's the thing. If you're creating videos about Descendants of Zombies, you really have to talk about it in a way that you just don't rank the songs or rank your favorite moments. You have to talk about it in a way where you know you're reaching out and you're touching somebody's heart, so much so that they will hit your subscribe button, regardless if you're talking about a certain situation that reminds you of a certain scene from Zombies 4 Dawn of the Vampires, per se, like how Legends in the Making reminded me so many times of how I wanted nothing more than to go down in history for being one of the greatest of all time. And while I'm still in doubt that I will go down in history for being one of the greatest of all time, I know because of each and every one of you, eventually I will. I don't know how or when that will happen, but I know eventually I'll be standing on a stage thanking each and every one of you individually for having made me one of the greatest of all time, perhaps at the D23 Expo upcoming. I don't know. But there's just been something about my voice being attached to the Descendants of Zombies franchises that fits perfectly with the message, is it not? I think that the way that I tell stories about Descendants of Zombies is very different from how other people break it down and critique it, because that's really all they're doing, is critiquing it. While I, on the other hand, believe that Happily Ever After has the strongest chance of existing, far more than anybody else out there who has ever reviewed Descendants of Zombies, which makes my videos some of the best. And if somebody were to say that my videos weren't the best, I also support that opinion too, because that's what makes the world diverse. Because if everybody had the same opinion about videos or about music or about TV shows or about Descendants or Zombies, the world would be a pretty boring place and would be far from intriguing. It's just, when I see people like Meg Donnelly and Kylie Controlling doubt of their lives and their accomplishments, it upsets me, because I see them for who they truly are, and that is inspirations to so many wonderful people whom they have touched the lives of. And I want to forever instill in their minds that we are forever grateful and we are fully supportive of their decisions and how far they have come, because the reality of this is they still have a legacy to discover and a legacy to build off of. And I just want to be a part of it. I just want to be here, front and center, to talk about Descendants of Zombies for each and every one of you in the way that it was meant to be talked about, while I continue to shy away from the criticism and every critic that we have out there on YouTube. Because I just wanted to be different. I just wanted my message to be heard. I just wanted to touch your heart so, you know, you would know that I did love Descendants of Zombies. And I'm sure there is somebody out there watching this video right now who is going to hit the like button, who is going to hit the subscribe button, because she is a big fan of Descendants of Zombies. And I have never wanted to let that person down. You see, I don't have to meet you guys to know that you are wonderful people, because I know that you're wonderful people. I know you're a good person. Regardless of how many mistakes you've made, or how many second chances you've been given that you probably don't deserve, I know that you are a good person, and I know you're going to hit the like button and you're going to hit the subscribe button because you watch these videos and you too love Descendants of Zombies and you believe in that message they've tried to promote for what must feel like forever for a lot of people. I want to say thank you from my heart to yours for having made this YouTube channel a profound success, seemingly overnight. Because from the very first video that was ever uploaded on this YouTube channel, I never thought that these videos were ever going to amount to anything or have such an incredible reach like they have. Thank you so much from my heart to yours for having made this YouTube channel a profound success overnight and having made me the voice of Descendants of Zombies, which is an honor that I don't deserve. But there's always been something about my voice being attached to the Zombies and Descendants franchises that have made perfect sense to thousands of people. And I have never felt more honored to become your voice of Descendants of Zombies, because this is the point that we're at. And if we're going down and faced with criticism, then I guess we're going down together. Thank you guys so much from my heart to yours. I will be back just before sunset with one final video about Descendants of Zombies, and so much to say where that goes. Because I think that telling stories about Descendants of Zombies is a very powerful way of putting out there how powerful the script was, how powerful the music was. I love it so much, and I love being your voice of Descendants of Zombies because I consider it an honor and the greatest honor of my life. Be kind to one another, everybody, because kindness really does go a long way in this world, and keep reaching out there for your dreams, because you never know how much closer you may be than you realize to a dream happening for you. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but eventually. As Cloud has said so many times, after how many times I've played Final Fantasy VII in my lifetime, everybody has a light. Regardless of how long it takes you to find it, you will find it. Because everybody has a light out there, and I think that's a message Descendants of Zombies may have not publicly stated, but I think everybody does have a light. Regardless of how difficult it may be for you to find or how long it takes you to find it, you will find that light. Thank you guys so much for all the love and support you have shown this video. Keep on hitting the subscribe and the like buttons. We will talk again. Stay calm and zombie on, everybody, because, as I just said, you will find your light. Everybody has one.